This episode is brought to you by Health IQ, a very special life insurance company that gives health-conscious individuals the best life insurance rates and quotes. Learn about what they can do for you specifically at healthiq.com/old dog. That's all lowercase letters and dog is spelled D-A-W-G. That's healthiq.com/old dog.
In a world where jobs are how most people make money, one man, one desire, one challenge dares to break the mold. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where we don't work for money. Money works for us. Coming soon. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manacero.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network. I'm your host, Bill Manacero, and this is the show where 50-plussers and anyone else who wants to join us get solid, no sales pitch real estate investing advice to help generate real cash flow. This podcast airs twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and if you aren't already a subscriber, go to iTunes, type in Old Dogs, spelled D-A-W-G, find our podcast, and subscribe. Well, today we've got a great show for you. We're doing a little different approach than we normally do. A lot of times we focus in on real estate investors and folks that are actively involved in real estate investing from one angle or another. But this is a topic that definitely pertains to real estate investing, and that is in the area of sales. Our guest today is Tom Hopkins. You've probably heard that name before. He's known as America's #1 how-to sales trainer. Over 5 million salespeople, entrepreneurs, and sales managers on 5 continents have benefited from his sales live training events. He perfected his selling skills during his 8-year real estate career, in which he received numerous awards. In his last year selling real estate, he sold 365 homes, an average of 1 per day, something that was unheard of at the time and has rarely been matched. Since that time, he has developed and customized his effective selling skills for over 350 industries. He has authored 18 books on the subjects of selling and success. Over 2.9 million copies of those books have been read by sales pros the world around. He is also 2013 recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Academy of Best-Selling Authors, and he's been recognized as the #1 sales guru 2 years in a row by Global Gurus. Wow. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, Tom.
Well, thank you, Bill. Excited to be with you and your following people.
Wow. Well, we are real excited to have you. If you've been in real estate, you know that sales is just an active part of it. You can't do one without the other. Learning how to perfect those skills and really be able to apply them, whether you're, selling a property, whether you are presenting your syndication to an investor or a potential investor, even as you are moving into a new area and community and you're trying to establish yourself in that community, there's a certain amount of sales skills that are involved. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is going to be something that all of our listeners is going to be able to use. I would love to just hear just a little bit about your background. I think it's kind of neat that you do have that real estate background in there, and maybe you can just kind of give us your brief story, how you got into sales.
Well, what happened was I didn't go to college. I lasted 3 months. And so after a 90-day college education, I thought, well, I'm not going to do this. And I didn't have any job available. And I became a construction worker carrying steel in Los Angeles on bridge decks, hardest physical labor on the planet. I'm 5'7", but I was 6'2" when I started carrying steel. And so it was a very tough job. And after a year, my dad, who was so disappointed in me, Bill, because I couldn't go or didn't go to college, he one day came home. He says, son, maybe you'll never amount to anything, but I've heard you're a hard worker on the carrying steel. So he said, don't you want to do something else with your life? And I said, well, I do, Dad. I don't know what to do. He says, well, you're just about 19 now, so you can't get a real estate license here in California. And why don't you get into real estate? And of course, I failed my real estate exam 3 times. And finally, I passed. And I really found my niche. And I hope the folks hearing our message realize how I think to be a happy person, you have to try to take your talents and find your niche, meaning I consider the niche in life is something you love to do that's not work. And I've always defined work is anything you're doing when you'd rather do something else. So in a way, based on my life, I've really never worked other than that 1 year of carrying steel. And I got my real estate license finally. And I had a challenge, Bill. No one wanted to hire me because it was unheard of to be in real estate as a teenager back in those days. I didn't have a car. I was riding a motorcycle. And so every broker would see me on the bike, and I didn't have a suit of clothes. So I had a tough time. But finally, one broker said, I'm going to give you a chance. And I showed up at his office on my motorcycle, and I played in a band when I was young. I was a drummer, and we saw the Beatles come to the Hollywood Bowl the first time, and they had these wild silver lame suits. So I told the band, I said, let's get silver lame suits, and I even put a purple velvet collar on them. And I showed up with because the broker said you have to wear a suit. This is back when there was a much stricter dress code than there is in real estate today. And so I showed up on my motorcycle in my band uniform, and I walked in, and the broker stopped the meeting. He had 12 salespeople, Bill, and he stopped the meeting, and he looked up at me with the motorcycle and a band uniform. He says, all of you guys listen up. This is our newest sales associate, and if this kid just turning 19 can make a living riding that motorcycle and wearing that god-awful band uniform, I expect all of you to get rich. And so that's kind of how they kicked me off into the real estate business.
I love it. That's a great
But, I started going to seminars. And, Bill, one guy in California, this is back before the residential real estate had boomed from Los Angeles to San Diego. He said, listen up, you guys, you can make a great living selling real estate and making commissions, but you will get rich owning property and investing. So of course, I've always been very coachable, and I took that message to light and started writing my goals down as to how many homes I would buy. And I started acquiring properties, renting them, and went through a lot of pain in the beginning, but held those houses and eventually traded all of them for a beautiful big apartment building here in Scottsdale. So it's been wonderful, but I really believe, I love the subject you're covering, because investing in real estate, I will always believe, will be the strongest financial position when you get into your golden years. I had one man come to my seminar in San Francisco. He came up on the stage at the break, and I was autographing a book to him, and he said, Tom, I got to tell you, I want to thank you. I said, well, for what? He goes, well, in 1968, we walked into your real estate office. We wanted to rent a home because we didn't have much money. And you sat us down and told us about a repossession that this builder had. And you said you could get us in and let us take part of the rent to come up with the down payment. And we paid $19,000 for the home. And we just sold for $420,000, and it's the largest part of our net worth. And thanks to you, we have it, because if we'd have rented instead of bought, we probably never have this equity. So that's the type of thing that keeps me doing what I do. The people that thank us for helping them acquire not only real estate, but make more money in the field of sales so they can buy more real estate.
Well, how did you pick up the sales aspect of it? I mean, you're obviously you found a way to be effective as an agent. Did you have any sales skills before that, or did you kind of develop them on the job?
Well, and here's what really happened. I was in my office on a Saturday. I was the only one there, and suddenly a beautiful brand new Lincoln car drove into the driveway, and a young guy, I was 19, but he would have been about 23. He gets out. His name is Jim Lawhorn, and he walks in the office. He's got a beautiful suit of clothes on, and of course, I was kind of in awe of this young guy in a new Lincoln Continental with a suit. And I said, is that your car? He says, yeah. I said, those your clothes? He says, yeah. I says, how do you make money? He says, have you had any training? I says, I don't think I have, because I'm not making any money. and so he said, well, I have a mentor named J. Douglas Edwards, and he's going to have a 3-day seminar, and you need to go to see him. He changed a lot of our lives in closing more sales. And so the tuition back then was $150 to go see him for 3 days. And I had $158 total left in my bank account. So I wrote the $150 check, had $8 left. I went to this 3 days, studied all night. He'd had 62 different closing techniques in a workbook that we had to learn. And we had a competition to see who could win and learn the closes. Well, I thought, hey, I'm only 19. I can outperform these old 30-year-olds. So I, of course, studied, slept 2 hours a night for 2 nights. And sure enough, at the end of the 3 days, had mastered the closes and won this award. That was really one of the life-changing events in my selling skills, because he was the guru of American selling, and that was kind of his title. In fact, his title is the father of American selling. And when he passed away, I decided to invest in all of his training and make CDs so that people would have, even though it was done many years ago, the fundamentals of selling are very similar to the fundamentals of golf. The golf swing that Bobby Jones had back in the 50s and 60s really is no different than the swing of Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson. The difference primarily is the strength of the golfer and the equipment. Well, selling is the same way. The basic 7 fundamentals of selling any product or service or investment are no different today than they were. We upgrade them, and of course, when I go to a foreign country to teach, I culturize them for that country. But the basic fundamentals, I think, will always be the same. And so I offer, many of my people who follow my training have invested in Mr. Edwards' training, that they wanted to hear the guy that changed my life. And so we, of course, have that in our product catalog and is available. But, you had one question that we were talking about, how did I develop my expertise? Well, I really became a student of selling. I not only passed and won that contest, but I started every day trying to internalize phraseology, what to say when they say what they say. Because we know they're all going to say it costs too much. We have a friend in the business. We want to think it over. We'll get back to you. We're going to hear this. But so if you learn what to say when they say what they say, that's how you really achieve a high level of accomplishment and a great, great income in the field of sales and real estate investing.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think one of the things that some of us, and I'm probably the top of the list here, is one of those that is just real uncomfortable with selling. I guess I've been doing it all my life, but not knowing it in many regards. But it's one of those things when somebody says, "Well, you just gotta sell it," and I'm going, "Oh man," I just freeze up, and I don't know what it is about that, but there's something about selling that just intimidates me, and makes me kind of feel like, oh gosh, people are going to see right through me and whatever, they're going to see I'm trying to sell something. But you seem to have a real natural way with that. And, how do you kind of just incorporate it into the way you act on an everyday basis?
Well, I found over the years that most people that don't like selling are normal because there is a fear of being rejected. We're putting our ego on the line in selling. We are going to be told no. That's why my latest book is called When the Buyer Says No, because I really believe you don't sell until you get the no that we have to learn how to turn into the yes. And so if you analyze that whole concept, selling begins when they say no. So without a no, it's hard to sell. So you got to fall in love with the possibility of being rejected and told no. And then you master what to say to turn the no's into the yeses, which is primarily what I did. I was so fortunate. Doors open for you, I think, when you have the right attitude, the right outlook on life. You're excited about what you do. And that's what happened to me. The year that I sold the 365 homes, one a day average, the National Association of Realtors heard about it. And they called and asked if I'd like to speak at the Los Angeles National Convention. And, of course, I was honored, scared to death. I felt like speaking about, like you felt about selling. I had not done it really. I was terrified. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I was supposed to only talk to 100 people at a breakout session, and I decided to put my suit on and go to the convention kickoff at 8 in the morning. I wasn't supposed to speak till 1, but I showed up standing in the side with my speaker badge on at 8, and all of a sudden, about 8:15, the president of the association comes over, and he says, Tom, I know you're not on till 1, but our featured speaker, Thomas Peters, who's the man that wrote the book, The Peter Principle.
Oh, yeah.
He's our featured speaker, but he's caught in Los Angeles traffic, and we've got to get started. Can you go on? Well, of course, I said 5,500 people versus 100. I was terrified, but I walked out on that stage because the president walked out. He said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a 23-year-old man here that closed 365 homes last year, averaging one a day, which had not been done. And there was a gasp in the room. He said also, Bill, that you'll only be able to speak, Tom, until he shows up. So I have no idea how long I have, but I got up on the stage and I looked out at the audience and I said, I don't know how long I have with you, but I'll tell you there are 10 words that many of you and your salespeople say to buyers that are costing them sales. And I'd love to have you all take a business card out. And the reason I closed all the sales and made that record is I eliminated these 10 words from my vocabulary. And of course, because of the credibility of doing what I did, they all took out a business card. And I had 5,500 people writing down the 10 words that they should never say to a buyer. And that was the kickoff. All of a sudden, I went back to my office in Simi Valley, California, and my phone started ringing off the hook. The realtors in the room that were Board of Realtors people, they all asked me to come out and speak. And I didn't want to retire from real estate listing and selling yet. So I started doing it for free, literally. And for 3 years, I developed my speaking skills by doing free presentations. And that's when I said, I've got to write a book and put all the phraseology that I say to people in that book. Because if they know what to say on taking a 6-month exclusive right to sell listing, if they know what to say to an investor to close a transaction and get them to invest their money, if they know what to say and what not to say, they're going to make money and build a career of success in the real estate business. And that's kind of how it happened, how all of a sudden I started speaking and wrote my first book. It became a New York best-selling book, and that launched my, I guess you'd say, my career of becoming a teacher, an educator, a speaker.
Guy, that's fascinating. Well, you got me going here because I'm writing down here. Okay, what are these 10 words?
Yeah,
but I don't want to nail you down to that one. But I really would.
Let me give you an example, because people listening, this is real meat.
That's what I want. I love you to give us some tips here that could help. Yeah.
Don't use the word price when you tell how much a property is, because they will think in their mind, maybe we should shop for a lower price. So we always call it the total investment. We never say down payment because they know that's when they've got to write a check. It is the initial investment. And we don't call it a monthly payment because everybody in the world has too many today. We call it the monthly investment. And one of the worst words is the word contract. Don't ever call your printed form a contract. They're terrified to get near it. We call it the paperwork or the agreement. People love to agree, so let's never call it a contract. It's the agreement. And this little three-letter word buy, don't say buy. That's one thing that they've decided not to do before they meet you, a salesperson. So instead of buy, we use the word own. People love to own. They're just afraid to buy. And then the next is sell or sold. When you say, when we sell you this home or investment, or if I sold these people, right away they say, oh, you sold them, you manipulated them, we're not going to let you sell us. So I never sold a home. I got people happily involved in the pride of ownership in property. And, of course, I never used the word deal because many people were told something was a good deal and it was a bad deal. I call it an opportunity, not a deal. And so there's an example of words that you want to eliminate from your vocabulary. I call those words sales jargon. And sales jargon are words that are used in selling, and when people hear them, they get fearful because people want to own, they just don't want to feel like they were sold.
That's great. That is great. I love it. Yeah, those are things that we just we kind of just lock into. We get so used to using that, especially real estate investors. We're always talking about the deal, and you get used to those terms, but you don't realize how that affects those that are potential investors or people on that standpoint. Group of people that are listening, and there's a variety of people there, and you have some people that are sort of passive investors that maybe are investing in real estate through crowdfunding, or maybe they're investing in a syndicate or something, but then you've got those that are buying properties and going out there, and then you have those that are going for apartment buildings, and so they've got to put syndications together. They got to find investors, and I was just trying to think of some practical tips you might be able to share with us that would help. This is great. Thanks for going through that list, by the way. That's the kind of stuff I really think is going to be helpful for people. I mean, there's some real practical meat there. What sort of general maybe strategies or approaches would you recommend to people that are in that camp that I just described to you, the either the new investor or the investor who's expanding out into bigger properties?
Well, first of all, let me give you a generality, Bill. If you find out what the average person in sales is like, and you're just the opposite, you'll probably do extremely well. Meaning the average person in sales is too talkative and not a good listener. The great people are master askers, which is the art of learning how to ask questions. And that's really what changed my life when I went to that 3-day program, and Mr. Edwards says, we're going to give you all the questions, you just have to learn them. So I learned all 62 questions, and I'll give your listeners 3 that they can use today. And if they'll take these 3 questions of the 62, and if they will work on them, they will be delighted with the results. Now, the first question is called a tie-down. Now, the tie-down question is defined as a question at the end of a sentence that demands a yes response. And I've used a couple, haven't I?
Yeah,
in fact, that was one, wasn't
there
it?
There was one right there. Yeah.
I did it again, didn't I?
Uh-huh.
You're catching on, aren't you?
Got it.
A reputation for professionalism is important, isn't it? Investing in a quality product makes sense, doesn't it? So that's the tie-down, taking isn't it, doesn't it, wasn't it, couldn't it, wouldn't it, shouldn't it, can't you, won't you, haven't you, hasn't he, hasn't she, nicely putting it on the end of your sentence with a little nod. Now, what's amazing about this, when you nod at a person and say, a quality investment makes sense, doesn't it? They will nod with you. And this is called building the yes momentum. And one thing I learned over the years, Bill, is that if you get enough minor yeses, the major decision, the major yes will be carried. So that's the tie down. Have fun with that, and you will, won't you? You'll practice it Don't you agree? All right. Now, the second question technique is called the alternative choice. Now, the alternative choice question form is defined as a question with two answers. Either answer they pick will carry the major decision. So in trying to meet a person with an appointment, don't say, when can we get together? They won't give you a time. Say this to them. My time is somewhat flexible. I can be available today or tomorrow be better. Now they have to pick today, tomorrow. Or you could say, would you like to make it before dinner at 5 or should we let later at 6? Now they have a choice. So you're always asking people questions with two answers, or either answer they go ahead. My kids used to go on the seminar tour with us in the summer when they were out of school. And my kids love to compete. I think that they got that from me. But at the seminar, they tried to beat the adults in learning the questions, and they started using them. And I took my little daughter, Tasha, she was only 10 years of age, to the market. And most kids go to the market with dad or mom, and they'll say, Dad, can I have an ice cream? But not Tasha. She learned the alternative choice. She said, Dad, which would you prefer I have, a fudgesicle or a popsicle? So I can't say yes or no. She closed the transaction by getting that ice cream using the alternate of choice. And the third question is called an involvement question. Now, the involvement question is defined as a question the buyer will have to ask themselves after they've gotten involved. In other words, when I would show a home, they might walk into a home and see the child's room was a terrible color. And I could see they kind of liked the place. And then, of course, they'd say, oh, my God, these colors of the room. And then I just ask a question. What color would go best with your decor, if the house makes sense? Well, see, when they start picking colors, or they walk out in the backyard and he goes, God, I love the yard, great landscaping. Then I ask him an involvement question. Well, would you do your landscaping yourself, or do you want me to suggest a gardener? Now, when he answers that question, he just bought the house because he's going to garden in the backyard. So that's the tie down, the alternative choice, and the involvement question. And I hope your listeners might say, I'm going to start practicing this today and make it part of my vocabulary, not only in the selling situation, but in my whole life. Because I totally believe selling in general is a universal language. And if you look at some of the greatest salespeople in the world, some of them you would not think were salespeople. One of my greatest examples is Lee Iacocca, who totally took the Chrysler Corporation that was going out of business, almost bankrupt, and he got into the position of leadership where he turned that whole company around. And I guarantee you, he did a great selling job to convince people we're not going under. We're going to really step up. And of course, as you know, Chrysler has really become one of the finest car manufacturers and companies in our country. Mm-hmm. So open your mind to the fact that when you're persuading, convincing, that you're not hurting anyone if you don't totally believe in your product. And that I've got to stress. People ask me on talk shows like this, Bill, I'm thinking of going into sales. Where can I make the most money? And I always tell them, don't look at the income potential. Look at something you love to do. And people have said to me after they've read my books or listened to my CDs, they go, Tom, I bet you could sell anything. And I say, I don't think so. Because if I don't have a passion, and I played golf with Wayne Gretzky a while back, one of our neighbors, and he told me, I said, Wayne, you were number 99, the great one, which they gave him that title, the followers. He changed hockey in Los Angeles when he left the Edmonton Oilers. And I asked him, I said, I'd love to tell my audiences why Wayne Gretzky was so great. And he said, I had a passion. And that's when he gave me the P word. He said, I had a passion of all aspects of hockey. I had a passion for winning, a passion for losing, a passion for the fact that when I skated on the ice, almost every other player was after me. So that's when I said, I think he's right. You got to be passionate about what you do, not only in your personal life, But I think you got to be passionate about your career, your vocation, passionate what you do for other people in service. And this is, I think, critical to be a great person in any field.
That's great. That advice alone is invaluable right there. I'm going to kind of zero in on sort of the real practical here, and this is a true example here. I've got two pieces of paper on my desk, and one of them, and again, I'm coming in from the real estate investor side. One of them is I got the phone number and contact person for a house that's got weeds growing up all around it. It's obviously abandoned, but this person has that house. Now, I don't know the background of the house. I don't know why. Maybe they're having problem making the mortgage. It's hard to say. And then I have another one that's an apartment building. And this one is really run down. I know from talking to tenants there that there are a lot of people that are behind on their rent. He's an older man that owns the place. And two potential buying situations here, but I don't want to blow it. I want to call them, and I want to be able, I'm afraid I'm going to say something that's going to turn them off. Just, you could pick one or both, or looking at those and having been in real estate, I know that's a little ways back now, but what would be a good way that would help put these people at ease and be able to open up the door to be able to potentially be able to buy their property?
Well, you'll never do anything better than eyeball to eyeball. So I personally, if they're not living there, of course, they probably would be able to track down their phone number. But I would just simply, when you first meet them, let them know that you are in business in the community. And you realize that they may want to have someone take over their property. And if it's not me, I have some qualified friends. Would you be interested in letting me maybe see your property? Now, if you're nice and polite and come across like that, many times if they are home, they'll say, well, yeah, you can see we're just kind of not doing much with it. And then, of course, I always bragged about the objection. Well, you know what? It might be an advantage because people today love to come in, use their own creativity, express themselves. And so we would not make this a disadvantage, of course, if our financial aspects are good. And, of course, I have established rapport with them, look at the property. I would have a handwritten thank you note in their mailbox the next morning, thanking them for letting me see the home. And then, of course, I would follow up with them, keep in touch. And I had many people that had no intentions of giving the listing on the property, no intentions of using an investor. Because of the way I handled them, they brought down defense barriers, they warmed up, and I put quite a few transactions together. And this, I think, is one of your keys, is to keep your eyes always open for people who are wanting to go through a change in their life. I think one of my most successful transactions, I met an older couple in their 65, 70s. They had a big home and they wanted to get a smaller home. And 2 days later, I met a younger couple who wanted a larger home. And I ended up having the old couple buy the young couple's home and vice versa. Got the listing and selling into the commissions on both transactions. And I made two couples very happy because I thought I was creative and searched with questions for how I could make them happy.
God, that's great. That's great. I love it. And you probably got both sides of it. You got the sale of the house and the new one they're buying, right?
Yeah, oh, you bet. I got all four ends of it. So it was really a moneymaker. And I made two couples very happy. They didn't have to go through trying to sell their homes. They didn't have to worry about showings and brokers. And so it was a real home run.
Oh, that's great. A couple of questions I normally ask our guests. One of them is your biggest mistake and the biggest success. Now, you could convert that if you wanted to, unless you want to use a personal example. It could also be the biggest selling mistake and the biggest selling success.
Sure.
So I'll let you handle those questions either way.
Well, I think one of the mistakes I made in the beginning was I did not search for a mentor or mentors. I really believe that success comes to those who learn what other people that are successful have done. One of the reasons, when you were saying in my introduction, 5 million people on 5 continents have attended my live seminars. Well, see, to me, that means so much. And Bill, I wish I could record some of the people that come into the seminar and they go, Tom, I came when I was 25 years old, 30 years ago to your program, and now I own this big company, and 80 of the people in the audience are my people. Well, see, that to me is the highlight to a teacher, when people thank them for what they taught them that helped them have a better life. And I think my biggest mistake is I did not do what I teach people to do in the beginning, was first of all, find a reputable company, find the product you burn with a passion and love, and find mentors, people who are successful, and learn from them. And I went to another seminar, and the man instructing it said, go to the Chamber of Commerce. They know all the businesses in the community. Find out what 3 to 5 companies they feel are their best companies as far as profit. Then you call the manager of the company. Don't call anybody but the manager. Let the manager know you're in business in the community, with hoping to maybe do some networking with their people. But ask if you could have the name of the top income earner in that company, because you don't want to do networking with an average producer. You want to network with a high-income top producer. So the manager then gives me the name. I follow up, meet him for a cup of coffee, establish a rapport, send thank you note, follow up, and all of a sudden, if you get an insurance agent, a real estate agent, maybe a computer specialist, I had one of the top IBM guys, these people become your network marketers, where you can exchange leads, you can build your businesses together. So it's, again, another one of the prospecting ideas. But I didn't do it in the beginning until I went after 6 months. And then, of course, I was taught this, and I started building my 4 people that I met with and exchanged business in other industries. I think on the other side of the coin, biggest success was the year that I sold all those homes, and the timing was just perfect. Interest rates had dropped from 18%. We had interest rates at 18% then. They dropped down drastically. Buyers came out of the woodwork. I had a lot of great listings. And of course, I had pretty much mastered my phraseology. So all of a sudden, I'm starting to close transactions. And it was about November 20th when my manager called me in his office. And he says, Tom, have you been keeping track of the homes you've sold? I says, no, I really haven't paid much attention. He says, well, you're on target to close a home a day if you keep up this average, and it's never been done. We call the Real Estate Association. No one's ever closed that many home sales. So if you do that, I think that's going to open a tremendous door for future success. And so I worked 7 days a week, 15-hour days. And sure enough, I think it was right on about the 27th of December, I closed my last sale to get to 365. And my business and career, that was the explosion point that really took off my business.
Wow, that's great. Well, I talk to a lot of folks out there on a regular basis. I let people know, I don't charge for consulting and so forth. I just network with a lot of people, like you said, and people refer other people, and it all works out great, But a lot of the people I've talked to, some of them are, I've got this approach where they're, and I can relate very much to their approach where, they're investing, but they're only going to do it if they don't have to do any partners. They don't have to have any partners. They don't have, to get investors involved. They're just going to, buy the properties on their own and not have to deal with that. And a lot of it is because, they don't want to have to put themselves in that position of having to have anybody there that's going to approve or not approve of what they do. And so just for those out there that are looking to get involved, maybe you could give them some advice that might help those 50-plussers out there in a way that would encourage them to be open to that aspect of actually having to be able to work with others and maybe expand where they are at.
Well, I will say this, and of course I don't need to sell a book, but I really believe that when I wrote the book, How to Master the Art of Listing and Selling Real Estate, that book, which was my real first book, that really was the starting point for me. Because what I tried to do, Bill, was give people exactly what to say in every selling listing situation. So I think people may want to go to my website, tomhopkins.com. And one thing I also have on that page, because I know there's people right now listening that may not have a lot of money. So I decided years ago to have what we call a free resource page, which is a page in my website that they can get some thank you note phraseology. They can get some ideas that are complimentary, no charge whatsoever. And this might be something they may want to look at to get started if they're new. And of course, funds are tight, so they may want to do that. And if they just go to the free resource page at tomhopkins.com, they can see all the information there, and they can get some of the stuff that at no charge can maybe help further their career towards more success.
Oh, that's great. Thanks. Thanks for sharing that. I think that'll be a fantastic resource for our listeners. Well, I also wanted to just ask you too, you've got this great business, and it sounds like you're traveling a lot. You're doing a lot of things. What's ahead for you? What's sort of the next step, next goal for your business?
Well, I have always called retirement a fancy name for an early death, because I feel most
I can relate to that.
Yeah, people that retire, I don't think they live as long as people that are active, that are focused on their work, what they love to do. So I'm going to continue to do seminars, and I'd love the folks to especially if you have listeners in Dallas, Texas, I'm going to have my next 2-day sales academy on Friday and Saturday, September 15th and 16th at the Hyatt in Dallas. And they may want to say, hey, I'm going to go and I teach 16 hours. We've had about 45 minutes, but I put them in a room, give them a handbook, a manual, and we study. And I do just with them what Mr. Edwards, that changed my life, did with me. So that might be something the folks might be interested in as well. We're in the process of creating a lot of new ideas this year. Our little company, we've been together now going on 40 years, so we're a family, and we are fortunate to have people in my firm that are always looking for ways to help people have a greater life, success-wise and personally. So we have a lot going on, and I'm excited about the future, and so that's where we're going.
I love it. I love it. Well, this is our section as we're kind of wrapping up here. And again, Tom, I could probably talk to you for hours because just the little meat that you gave us, the teaser here, there's a lot of good stuff there. And I want to encourage everybody listening. First off, everything he said is going to be available in our show notes, and you'll be able to access all the information as well as links to his website, and which will give you access to his great books and a lot of other materials that he has. But this is our little wrap it up section.
Hello, fellow old dogs. Before we jump into our wrap it up session, I just wanted to let you know that an important part of being a successful real estate investor is knowing how to regularly reduce expenses. It's a big part of what I do every day to maintain a healthy real estate portfolio. Well, I try to do the same thing with my personal finances as well. When I heard about a health insurance company that gave special rates to those of us old dogs who try to eat right, exercise, and stay healthy, I got very stoked. Health IQ gives health-conscious people the best life insurance rates and quotes. Learn about what they can do for you specifically at healthiq.com/old dog. That's all lowercase letters, and dog is spelled DAWG. That's healthiq.com/old dog. Check them out.
I ask quick questions. You give me quick answers, just little tidbits of information on resources that you rely upon, and that'll be a good reference for others. So if you are ready, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite real estate book?
Well, I mentioned mine, and I do believe that listing and selling real estate book is worth its weight in gold. But I also believe that Think and Grow Rich is not a real estate book, but that book helped me a tremendous amount. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's works were so in my life. And favorite business book, other than my own, would be probably Think and Grow Rich or How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, yeah.
Those two, and you can get those at Amazon. They still have them available. So that would be the book area.
How about the most valuable website for success? Again, other than your own.
I would say Zig Ziglar has a great website. His son, Tom Ziglar, has taken over the company. But Zig has got a very, very good website, and that might be one that the folks would want to take advantage of as well.
Oh, that's neat. How about favorite app? You have a favorite app on your phone or computer that you use on a regular basis?
No, not really. I'm very fortunate. I have a woman that technically handles all this for me, and so I don't want to say that I do because I'm really not into that right now.
No, that's okay. That's no problem. How about favorite quote? I'm sure you have a favorite quote.
Well, I was given this by a very wealthy man when I was a young pup and selling, and I took these words and I not only teach them, but I have them on my desk in my home, and it just says this: I must do the most productive thing possible at every given moment. And if a person realizes they have 86,400 seconds in a day, no one has any more, no one has any less, but the people at the end of their lives that seem to end up with most achievements, productivity, success, they have this concept of I'm not going to waste time. Time is a valuable asset. So I must do, not I maybe will do, I must do the most productive thing possible at every given moment.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And the final question, if something, let's say cataclysmic happened that just wiped out everything that you had acquired, and you had to start all over. All you have, though, is, let's say, $1,000 in cash. What would you do? How would you use that money to rebuild your business?
Well, the first thing I would do, and I really believe, and I don't mean this braggadociously, but I believe if I jumped out of an airplane in a city I'd never been, and I walked down the street and talked to homeowners and business people and let them know that I'm coming into the area to work. I'm going to be building a business. I'm always looking for qualified people that might be interested to join me. I just have a feeling that in 90 days, with a lot of activity, and this is something people have to realize, quality activity will breed quality productivity. So I would get out and talk to more people, make more contacts, follow up with people that showed any degree of interest. And this is how I think I could, in 90 days, have the ability with $1,000 to start impacting people to do business with me in one form or another. Because we are all in the people business. And if you know more about people and treat them properly, I think people will flock to learn more about you and to want to have a relationship with you.
Oh, that's great. Great advice. Well, Tom, I would love for you to be able to let people know how can they reach you? How can they find out about what you do and your everything from your courses to your seminars and so forth? What's the best way for folks to reach you?
Well, if they just go to tomhopkins.com, Bill, they can then access all of our books, CDs, videos, everything we've done. We have about 52 products, so they can look at what we have and, of course, take advantage of the free resource page. And that would be what I would suggest people who've enjoyed what we've shared in our short time together would do.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Well, you know, what a lot of people don't know is you mentioned earlier before the show even started that you've had this laryngitis and or virus right now, and you did a great job in answering questions, and I don't know if anyone even noticed. You did a wonderful job, and we were talking earlier offline about, wow, are you going to be able to actually do the closing howl here? And
like a trooper, you said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So,
okay, the howl is going to be one of my favorite words. And I'm going to howl the word after I teach about the word.
Oh, okay.
This word I learned from a young person in my office when I was a manager. And he was so honest that if things were slow or if interest rates were too high or things were bad, he would pour his guts out to the people about it. And I called him in my office. I says, man, you can't talk that negativity. You got to be positive if you expect to move people to say yes to, say, investments. And he says, Tom, I have to be honest. So I said, let me think about this. So next day I called in my office. I said, I'm going to give you a word, and you can use this word when people ask you how things are going, how are sales, how's business. And this is the word that I always teach in the very beginning of my seminars. And it's going to be my howl. Because when someone asks you how business is and you've had the worst week of your life, you just howl, unbelievable. Because unbelievable covers it either way, doesn't it?
That's great. I love it. I love it. Oh, that's great. Okay, you got to do it one last time. Ready? With your best old howl here. Go ahead.
Unbelievable.
Ow! Oh, man. Well, that's great. Tom, it has been a pleasure to have you on.
I'd love to make it an annual event.
Oh, hey, you're not going to have to twist my arm too much. I might even try to talk into more often, but at least I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but if you'll keep in touch with Judy, and if you feel you'd like to do something, please. When I'm here kind of resting and sitting around the house, I love doing interviews. So please, let's keep in touch, all right?
Oh, you bet, Tom. Well, thank you so much. And I also just want to thank all of our old dog listeners out there for joining us today. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you've taken the time to join us means a lot, and we really appreciate it. And please note, old dog listeners, everything presented here will be included in our show notes at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. So, and to look for the episode with Tom Hopkins in it. Well, that's it for today. And remember, cash flow is king, real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward, and may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.